Hi, welcome to Home Matters with Lyndsay. I'm Lyndsay Wrensen, Associate Broker, Realtor, and Psychologist, and someone who deeply believes that home is more than just four walls and a roof. It's where life happens, it's where our nervous system resets. But what happens when home changes? When someone undergoes something disruptive that once felt stable? For many people right now, life feels uncertain. Financial pressures, market shift, relocations, job changes, downsizing, divorce. We have a lot going on in the world right now, even natural disasters. So some transitions we plan for, and there are transitions we never saw coming. And when our physical environment changes, it doesn't just affect logistics, it affects our biology. Our stress levels tend to rise, and our sense of control can feel shaken. Because home is not just a structure, it's psychological safety. And today's episode is about that space in between, the space in between point A, stability, and point B, rebuilding. And it's about how to feel safe again and create stability even in a temporary space, and how to prepare wisely without living in fear, and hold on to hope when everything feels like it's falling apart. Because here's the truth, when home changes, it can feel like everything changes. I know I experienced that when I moved into this home. It took a while to get adjusted. But what if transition isn't just disruption? What if it's refinement? What if it's an invitation to build stronger emotionally, financially, physically, even spiritually? And today's guest has lived this. She's navigated an extreme situation and one that challenged her sense of safety and preparedness. And she came out not only surviving, but wiser, stronger, and clearer. So today's conversation is for whoever feels unsettled, anyone in between homes, anyone in the middle of a life shift, anyone craving stability in a very uncertain time for many of us. Because even when the walls change, you can still rebuild safely. You can still rebuild with clarity, and you can still hold on to hope. I'm very excited to introduce our guest today, so let's dive in. Hey, Elisabeth, it's so good to see you. How are you?
Good to see you too. I'm great. We're finally back in our house after what felt like a lifetime and settling in. I didn't realize how long it would take to settle in, but we're almost there. So life is calming down, and I have more time to work and do everything else I need to do, spend time with family, all of that.
But for those who have not heard your amazing story, to give it a bit of background, you went through something that I'm guessing you never thought would happen less than 7 weeks after having a newborn baby. So I'd
Yeah.
love for you to share a little bit about what you went through, even though I have seen it on the news, and I just, it broke my heart, but you're such a survivor, and this is going to bring a lot of hope to people. So I'm excited for you to share this with listeners. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Yeah. Gosh, okay, so I'll never forget the date, but September 27th, 2024, 7 weeks after having my little one, who's now 18 months old and all over the place, interactive, doing, all kinds of fun stuff, running around, just tearing up the house. um, but 7 weeks after having my little one, Hurricane Helene swept through our neighborhood,
And for
and
those who don't know where you live, you're in Metro Atlanta in an
that's
area
right. Yeah,
that many people know.
we're in Buckhead, and most people have no idea that Buckhead got so impacted. And it's not all of Buckhead. I mean, it's like the outskirts, like we're on the west side, but really anywhere along the creek, Peachtree Creek, that runs in the back of our lot, was really impacted. So I mean, I know plenty of friends who are actually still out of their homes, and they're rebuilding and they're lifting their houses, and one friend who actually just relocated all together with her family, and I'll tell you that story later. But
Wow.
yeah, so we do live in a floodplain, but our house isn't in the floodplain. Our basement is, but not our house. And so you
Interesting.
have that creek that runs behind our house.
I
And
have to ask if you had flood insurance.
yes, we did have flood insurance, thank God. But a lot of people didn't, well, not everybody, but if you buy your house with cash, a lot of people don't, they're not required to have flood insurance. You don't have a
Mhm.
lien holder making sure that they're ensuring that their collateral is okay if something were to happen. And so
And
if
for
you buy a
sorry
house for
to
cash, yeah,
interrupt you, but for those who are listening, Elizabeth, feel free to share what you do for a living too. So you
oh,
are
yeah.
obviously very aware of what is required in the lending process if, you're paying cash or not, but feel free to share.
Yeah, I mean, if you're buying a house for cash and you're in a plain area, then your lender is going to require before you can even close that you have flood
Hmm.
insurance. So thankfully, we actually had to have a mortgage. Normally, I wouldn't say that, but thankfully we did because we knew that we had to have flood insurance, and that really saved us. Now, it didn't give us everything back, not really even close, but it did help. And so, because when the flood came through, I mean, it damaged our house. We had to move out for 11 full months, is what I counted. We moved back
11
in
months.
on the 11th month that after it happened. But yeah, I mean, that night is a night I'll never forget. We had been really prepared for wind, but not
Okay.
flooding. Nobody really talked about flooding, and we're
Yeah.
smart people. We
Yes, you're
would have left our
prepared.
house.
Right.
Yeah, we would have left our house if we had, thought for a minute that our house was going to flood. But I mean, we've seen the creek crest before from
Right.
a lot of rain, multiple days of rain. And when the creek is crested, it's never even come halfway up our backyard. And so it happened in the middle of the night. The
Oh, wow.
water started pouring in the basement, and then I woke up to the sump pump going off. I heard a beeping, and like as a new mom, you're a light sleeper. You start hearing every single.
Right, right.
And so I woke up to that, and so we we wake up to water pouring in the basement. And by the way, so we slept that night in the living room, which is the
Okay.
centermost part of our house. And we put Henry in front of the fireplace in his bassinet. So just in case a tree had fallen down on the house, or there was really bad wind,
Trying
that
to
was
be
the
very
safest place.
prepared for the winds,
Right.
which,
Right. So that was the
mhm,
safest place in the house. And we mapped it all out and we thought, okay, if a tree did fall, it would impact
wow.
these rooms, but not this room. So that's why we
Yeah,
slept in there. Um,
I didn't
but
realize that. Interesting.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I filled the bathtub with water. I did all the things that you would do if you were expecting to lose power because
Mm-hmm.
a tree fell or something like that, or if
Right.
the electricity went out. So we did all that, and then lo and behold, I mean, the water just keeps coming and coming and coming, and then we realized, we only have a one-story house, so we were either going to have to get up on the countertops and wait it out, or go to the attic. And if you go to the attic, that's an easy way to get stuck. That's why, like, I don't know if you've seen the Katrina documentary, but a lot of people
Ah,
died in their attics because they couldn't get out. So that's why I keep an axe in my attic now, just in case, worst case scenario.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I really don't think wherever you live, you're safe because there's like flooding everywhere these days, is what I'm seeing. There
You
are
never
just cities that
know.
aren't properly water mitigating. And so I think wherever you live, you need to be prepared for the unexpected because you just don't know what could happen. And it's always going to hit you, when you least expect it. So I don't know, maybe I'm a little overboard now, but when you live through something like we did,
You,
you are always prepared, and control the controllables. But
the
so
water
going back,
rose. Oh, yeah. So the water started to rise.
So the water starts rising, and then, and that's in the back of our lot, and it's like
Hmm.
coming up close, to the house. It didn't get there at that point, but we decided that we had to leave
Right.
because your house could wash away. You just never know. I mean, you may have seen what happened in North Carolina and Tennessee during Helene, but
Hmm.
other storms, you see houses just floating down the river, or the creek. It's scary. And so we thought, okay, we can't take any chances, so we have to leave, and we did. And we got in the car. We weren't in water. We didn't walk into water to get in the car. We
Oh, I
strapped
didn't
in.
realize that either.
Yeah, so we strapped Henry in his car seat, and we were driving out of the driveway, and a rush of water hit Michael's SUV, my husband, which but for your listeners that don't. So anyway,
Yes,
yes,
as a side note, I've known Elizabeth. We've probably known each other. Goodness, I met you in Buckhead when my sister
yeah.
actually lived there many years ago. You
Mhm.
guys, I remember, were headed to the gym. That was the first time I met you.
Oh, that's right.
So it
Yeah,
was in Buckhead, pretty close to the area. I mean,
yeah,
not so sorry to digress.
that's
So,
okay. Um, but so anyway, we get hit by this rush of water, and it hits Michael's SUV, and it turns it like sideways almost.
as you are
Um,
getting in the car to drive off.
no, as we were driving out, we were like buckled in, driving out, and the car just totally gets like flipped. And so, I mean, it's still on its tires and everything, and somehow by a miracle it stayed there. Be-
Really?
because Lyndsay, I don't
Wow.
know if you've been to our house, but I know your mom and Kristen have. But if you're looking at the house and you see the driveway on the
Mhm.
right side of that, it goes down like this, like you're
Right.
on a hill. And so if the water had kept pushing us, we could have ended up over that hill.
Mm-hmm.
So
That makes sense.
that was a fear of mine all, that whole
Right.
time. So we knew that there was nowhere to go but up. We couldn't stay in the car because at the rate the water was coming, it was filling up with water. So we had to do really the unthinkable. And I climbed through the sunroof first. Then we unstrapped Henry from his car seat. Michael handed him to me. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, he is soaking wet. And you've held a wet baby before. I mean, they're slippery. And so it's terrifying that you're going to like
Mm.
drop this child. And I knew nothing would allow that to happen. I was holding on to him for dear life. But then I remembered I had my baby Bjorn carrier. And so I strapped it to me. um, I put him in it and I held him close to my skin, like skin to skin. And
For him to stay warm
yeah,
and so you
yeah,
wouldn't
because it was
flip.
cold. It was so cold.
Hmm.
And then, Michael got up on the roof after he got our two dogs, our other two
Which
babies.
are not little babies. They're how
Right.
many pounds?
Well, Daisy's probably 40. And then Cash is humongous. He's like 80 pounds. And
Right.
so I'm pretty sure Michael broke his nose as he was pushing him through the sunroof. And it took like a good 5 to 10 minutes to get him up.
And for
Um,
those listening, this was all over the news. I think that I found out first by watching the news. I want to say
yeah,
I was watching the news and saw you and was shocked. I
yeah,
want to say that's what happened, if I remember correctly.
yeah, it was
And it was
unbelievable.
very, there was a bit, yeah, this was a big deal on the news.
Yeah, I mean, the next day, I was going to say I woke up, but I didn't sleep all night. But the next day, I think I had like 500 text messages from people like saying, I think I saw you on the news. Are you like, what happened? Are you okay? And I mean, I had like
You're,
news outlets calling me, Good Morning America. I mean, it was insane. Um,
wow.
but going back to that night, I mean, we were up on the car for 2 hours, Lyndsay.
I
And I
didn't,
was praying to
Ooh,
God that he would send his angels and we would be rescued. And he sent his angels, I mean, like 30 of them. It was incredible. And I still keep
man.
in touch with the guys that rescued us that night, the guys and gals. There's, I think, a couple of, well, I know there's at least one female on their group, but anyway, I still keep in touch with them. I actually gave one of them a HELOC,
Oh, nice.
a
So
home equity line of credit.
Elizabeth is also, you can tell them what you do for a living.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a private banker. I work for a boutique bank here in Buckhead. We're based out of Memphis, but we came here to the market 3 years ago, and they hired me and a guy that I've worked with for a really long time to basically build out and start this market. And it's been a lot of fun. It's been challenging. I've learned a lot of things that I thought I knew that I didn't, and I definitely was humbled quickly. But it's been cool. I mean, it's been like my other baby growing that,
Right.
in the
Right.
past few years. So my non-human baby, I guess. Um, but anyway, yeah, it's been fun. But so part of what I do is I help people prepare for the unexpected when it comes to their finances. And I'll say I was on maternity leave when this happened. So I was halfway through my maternity leave. Thank
Right.
God, because I would not have been able to come back to work the next day or the next week
Right.
after what happened. But
Exactly.
that gave me time to really think about, okay, what it is that I do, and then the story of
And how
what happened to
important.
us. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and just knowing that thankfully I took my own advice and I knew what to do ahead of life storms to
Yeah.
protect me in financial emergencies. And so I came back to work with the resolve of I'm going to make sure every single person I know that has a house and has equity in it
Yes.
gets a HELOC, because I refer to it as like a spare tire. You keep it in your trunk and you
Mm-hmm.
don't know when you're going to need it, but when you need it, you need it. And you can't go find one at that point. You got to have it on you. And
It's too late if it's tomorrow.
that's
Yeah.
right. And so that's the way I explain home equity lines of credit is, it's just an emergency line of credit that you have to borrow against in case you need it. And it's based on the equity in your house. And you can generally get 80% loan to value
Mm-hmm.
and typically in first or second position. We don't do third position behind another lender, but um, and we actually, I'll plug our product really quick. We actually,
And I'll drop your information. I'll
oh
make
yeah,
sure we
thank
have
you.
it too. So
Yeah,
yeah, we'll have information. So folks who are listening, if you want to chat with Elizabeth, she is a great person to chat with, and we'll have her information below this podcast.
that's
But
right. Well, and
yeah,
I have part of what I've been doing too is like ever since I've come back, I make sure people are prepared for the unexpected, because everybody's going to have a storm in life. It might not be one like I had, like a
right.
literal storm, but you're going to face storms and there are
It's
going to be
inevitable.
financial emergencies that come up. And so it's just so important to plan and control the controllables. That's one of
No,
my favorite.
what are the controllables, would you say?
So, well, making sure you have an emergency line of credit in place,
Hmm.
making sure you have the right insurance when you buy a home, make
And
sure that you
hopefully
have
you have
enough.
a good realtor too. I'll put a plug for
A
myself.
very
That's
good,
something, yeah.
yes,
Make sure you have someone knowledgeable who can confirm. Ultimately, if it's a not a cash sale, the lender will be the one
yeah,
that gives the final say on whether certain types of insurance are required. But since we've had a lot more hurricanes in the last few years, this is becoming more and more the norm. So, but anyways,
yeah.
I
You need
digress.
some.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you need someone who can advise you, and that's another thing that I
Right.
tell everybody is you have to make sure you have the right team at the table, people
Yes.
you trust. Not You don't choose an insurance agent or a realtor because you play mahjong with them. Play
Exactly.
Use them because they're the best and they give you really good advice and they're not an order taker and they're actually proactive advice and helping you think of things you don't know about. Because
Right.
chances are your client is also not a realtor, they're not a banker, they're not an insurance agent. So
Right.
trust the people that know what they're talking about and care to actually make sure that you have the right things in place. So making sure
Hmm.
you have the right team around you is so important. I will say with our insurance, I had asked for a higher level of ALE, which is loss of use of your property. And I did this when I was pregnant, and a
Wow.
higher rebuild value. Because when you're pregnant, I feel like you think of everything that could go wrong. But I will say, Lyndsay,
I'm guessing you
even though I
probably didn't
say that,
predict the flood.
no, I didn't. I had just heard some story from somebody about like how they had an electrical fire and they didn't have enough money to rebuild. And then when they were out of their house, they still had to pay their mortgage. And they also didn't have enough, they didn't have any ALE coverage. They didn't have enough. So, because most people don't realize this, but while we were out of our house, we had to not only pay our
Pay
mortgage,
the
but we had to pay
mortgage.
rent somewhere else.
I'm
And
sure you would have
insurance
to pay your HOA if
cover
you
it.
have an HOA. Yeah,
Right.
you'd
Yeah,
have
that stuff
to.
doesn't just stop because you had an emergency.
So
So,
for those
if
lists, so you had to, and I'm guessing, I know you went somewhere, I believe to a friend's, but you would have to be
we
able,
did
if you didn't
immediately,
have that,
but
yeah, you'd have
yeah,
to,
we did immediately, but then we ended up renting. We had to
right.
rent somewhere for that whole time. We actually bounced around to a few different places, and it was a lot with three children and two dogs. But it was a
Wow.
lot, and insurance did not cover our loss of use because flood insurance is not. I didn't know this. I had no idea, and I actually have my insurance license, but I have a life and
And
health
Elizabeth
insurance
is a
license,
very
not
smart
property casualty.
lady. So I'm bragging
I
on
think
you. You
I
are.
am,
You
but I
are.
didn't feel so smart after that. And so that's just really important that people realize that flood is an exclusion of homeowners. And so when your
Mhm.
homeowner's policy kicks in, that's when ALE does. But flood is not, it's an exclusion. And so that means your flood policy kicks in and you get no help with rental assistance or anything like that. Your food isn't covered. So we would have been in better shape if our house burned down or a tree fell on our house, honestly. I mean,
Wow.
I'm glad that didn't happen, but at least then we would have gotten funds to be able to cover rent elsewhere. And not only that, but when it comes to rent, I mean, the price of rent is like sky high right now. That's why people should buy houses
Yes.
if
Yes.
they can and call you, Lyndsay.
Yeah.
But,
Build the
it's
equity instead of paying for someone
right.
else's.
Right. But at the same time, the market rate of rent is just
Yeah,
insane.
it
And so,
is.
and insurance companies don't necessarily see that if they were to pay ALE.
Mm-hmm.
So another thing I'll also mention is when something like this happens, you have to get a remediation company to come in, suck the
Mold.
water out,
Ah,
make sure there's no mold. And that is just the start to get you back to where you can
and that can be a
start
long
rebuilding.
process.
It can be a long process and
Mm-hmm.
it's costly. I mean, ours costs like
I
$50,000.
believe it.
And that's before construction even starts. That's why I was saying
Wow.
flood insurance is great to have. You want to have it, but it also is like a drop in the bucket when you are
Right.
talking about fully getting back into your home. And so,
So
go ahead.
you're back in the house now.
Yeah, we are. Yes,
You've been there
by the
how
grace of
long?
God.
Praise God.
Okay, when did we move back in? I think it was like October. No, no, I'm sorry. It was August 27th.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
August 27th of last year. And
And now
it's been
everything.
nice.
Now
Yeah, well,
I'm curious to hear, does the your home feel different now? Did your idea of what home means change throughout that process? I'm
oh,
getting more
most definitely.
emotional or the psychological
Yeah.
side of this.
most definitely it did. I I used to look at my house, and my husband will probably listen to this and roll his eyes, um, because I used to look at the house, and because I grew up in a ranch house, and that's what we
Mhm.
have. And I don't love ranch houses, but now I do because that's my house, and we got to move back into it. And I would complain. I would say, "Oh, this bothers me. That bothers me." But what I wouldn't have given Lyndsay over that 11-month period to complain about those things that were just so not
Realize
problems
that
at
you,
all.
wow,
Yeah, I mean, I thought, oh,
you're a
this is such an
miracle.
issue, but it's
Yeah.
not. Yeah. And so, and then the other thing too is like, okay, this sounds crazy, but so our son's first birthday, I thought we would be home by his first birthday. It was in August, and we weren't. And that was kind of an emotional thing for me, because I wanted to be home. But then I realized, you know what? Like, I have a healthy baby. He is okay. He's here with me. And not everybody can say that, unfortunately. There were a lot of people that lost lives, lost children, and everything that they have.
You handled the
Very
situation with such grace. Your strength was so admirable, and I know that you're a believer, as am I. And
happy.
I'll have a disclaimer in here. Obviously, my views may not be the views of organizations I'm associated with, but here on this podcast, I do want to share that I am a believer, and um, I'm so glad the Lord protected you because I've watched you just use what could have been destruction, could have been negative, and just to propel you to the next level, which is unbelievable.
Thank
Unbelievable.
you. And
Uh,
I'll say there
yeah,
were so many months that I struggled with. I want to be really careful how I say this. Um, I didn't understand why what happened happened. I was grateful that I still had my child, my husband, our two dogs, myself, that no, but we didn't lose any life because we were at big risk. I mean, it could have happened.
oh,
And I live
definitely.
my life a lot differently now, probably more of a helicopter mom than I should be. And I'm working on that. But when you go through something like that and your child is so young, you realize like, oh, bad things can happen to me, and I need to keep my child safe. I mean, I was doing that anyway, but
Right.
nobody could have known that that was going to happen.
No.
And we didn't get any warnings or anything like that. But um, kind of circling back with that because I'm going on a tangent, but you know, you just realize really terrible things could have happened, and I didn't understand why it did. And so I started searching for, why did God spare us when so many people lost their lives? Or like another mother I know lost her child in North Carolina. I think he was 3. And I think about that mom weekly. It was daily, multiple times a day. And now it's weekly, but I think about her. And anyway, so I started journaling, because I didn't know. Like, I was searching for the answer through journaling, and I journaled and journaled. And at the time, we were living down in Inman Park, and I was commuting back and forth to Buckhead,
You're
every
renting.
week, or
Yeah.
every day rather. So during while we were displaced from our home, we lived down there. And so I had a lot of windshield time in traffic, even though it's
Mhm.
really not that far. But with traffic, it was an hour each way, it seemed. And so I talked into the notes section of my iPhone. That's how I journaled. And then as I would do that, I would have these revelations. And it was incredible because it was like I was having a conversation with God who was guiding me. Even though it was just me talking, he was helping me understand things. And so
I get
one
that,
day
Elizabeth. I'll let you know that the book that I published years ago, as I wrote it, there was a lot of trauma. I
yes,
was getting the same thing, and it actually was part of my healing. So,
Yeah.
mm-hmm,
Same here.
mm-hmm,
Same here. I
mm-hmm.
healed through so much through that, and talking about it, that was my outlet. Um, to be able to not keep it all
Right.
inside, because I'd be a total wreck if I didn't let that out. And then one day I realized, my gosh, I've been taking all these notes. I've essentially been writing a roadmap for people that have been processing trauma and going through storms. And that's when I decided to start writing, using those journal entries as quasi journal entries as a book. And
Right.
so I'm working through that now, but it will be a guide for, women or
That's
anybody who's going through
exciting.
hard things, literal or figurative life storms. But
Elizabeth has a few things in the works, so definitely follow her and watch what she has coming up over the next, well, we'll find out later, but a couple months, I'm
yeah,
guessing.
yeah, so that will be out. That'll probably be a couple years before that comes out completely. But I do have a children's book that I co-authored with my friend Josephine. I mentioned her. She actually ended up moving to Savannah after their house flooded, and they
Did
just
they
decided it
rebuild?
would. No, eventually they probably will, but they didn't have flood insurance because I mean they bought their house and they didn't have to have a mortgage, and so they were just like, you know what, we're gonna have to start over, table this for a while. They moved, but I met her randomly. I saw somewhere she commented on something on Facebook, maybe it was like an AJC article or something, and so I connected with her and I said, oh my gosh, you have a baby too. And you went through Hurricane Helene in Atlanta. We have to have coffee. And so we did. And then I found out she was a child psychologist. But she and I had such similar stories. And they ended up having to wade through the water that night with their dog and their son, Wesley, who was 10
Wow.
months at the time. And anyway, so we met, we talked through just how could we use this to help children. And so we co-authored a book. It's called Goodbye Little House, and it talks about how home is where your family is. It's where your loved ones are. It could be in a broken down Airbnb or, a little 2 bedroom condo or whatever. It doesn't matter, but it's about the people you love being around you. And the boys in the book are older because they can understand what
Mhm.
happened. But the goal of it is to teach little boys and any child, girl or boy, that when they're going through hard things or they're displaced from their home for some reason or another, that you can be there for other people and help each other through it. And it's important to talk about your feelings, and to pray about things, and God will help you through it and put people in your life to help you get through the hard things. And so
And
we
you've
hope it
got a
reduces.
great community support
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
too,
I
which
don't know
is
how we would have done
amazing.
it. Yeah, I
Amazing.
met multiple people who had had flooding, as well, and I've met some of my best friends through that,
Through
and
the
we've helped each
challenge.
other, give each other pointers. So yeah, it's
Wow.
been helpful.
What was the most unexpected emotional response that you had throughout that whole period that you just didn't expect that surprised you a little?
Anger.
Huh?
I'd say anger,
Kind of
because
like a part of the grieving process almost.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
mine was more of like, okay, why did this have to happen to me
Yeah.
right after I had a baby? I had everything
Yes.
ready. Everything was ready. Like I
Baby
nested
room.
for years. I actually got Henry's crib like 3 years before I even found out
I
I was
remember
pregnant. You
I
know?
think my sister told me that.
Yeah. So
I
I mean, I
think
was ready.
you were so
I
ready.
nested for years. Yeah. And so I didn't understand why I had to, my first year with him, I had to be so spoiled with all of this, insurance calls, FEMA calls, dealing with reconstruction of our house. It was, deciding what to throw out, what to try to salvage. I mean, I had to throw out my wedding dress. I lost all my pictures, all my winter clothes. I mean, everything. So I had to really start over completely. And it was also financially really hard. So yeah, I struggled with anger. I still kind of do, but I'm giving that to God. And, that's all you can do. We're human. And so we just have to understand that things happen to good and bad people,
Yeah,
but it's what you do with it. And that's why I've tried to find outlets to help other people. Since I had to go through it, at least hopefully I can help somebody else through what I went through.
I
And
love it.
that's the only way to go about life.
It's really about how you handle those situations. And I've experienced
Right.
the same in life. Going through a tough situation I became passionate about other people needing to hear the wisdom that I gained through the storm. What kept you going?
Well, it was God. I mean, there was something very specific I remembered doing right after it happened. I mean, of course, it took a little while for the shock to wear off, and I wallowed a little
Right.
bit for about a week or two. And then when I really finally realized where we were and we were having to make all these crazy decisions, we had to buy two new cars. I mean, we lost everything. So I remember looking at my husband and saying, we can either look at this as we are victims, or we can look at this in a lens of being adventurously expectant. Every single day, every moment of the day. I mean, we literally had to reinvent ourselves because we didn't have anything. So, I said, you could be whoever you want to be, and me too. And so
I
we
love
just prayed that every day we would have a miracle happen, and it did. I mean, there were little things that happened every single day that I'm like, okay, that had to have been God. That there's no other explanation. That was
about to
God,
make me
and
cry.
that is what got me
Ooh,
through. It was from a
I'm-
Bible study. It was, you probably know Karen McAdams and Rachel Faulkner Brown.
I recognize,
They have the He Speaks workshop, and my father's house.
yes.
That is what taught me that. But I mean, I had that strong foundation before the storm happened. And you have to have that, or
You have
else
to
what do you
have
have to
more
build
than
from?
just a strong
Yeah,
foundation as far as a nice slab that's flood
yeah,
insurance,
literally. Yeah.
literally, right. Yeah. Oh
Got
my
to have
goodness.
something that holds you in. And it's funny,
Mhm.
this is the first time I've ever thought about this, but we had some landscaping, like some trees, like bushes and things and flowers planted maybe like 6 months before the storm, if that. And I just think about like the roots that had time to grow before the storm happened. They stayed. I mean, they should have been washed away, but they didn't. And
The
so I think
foundation
of
was not
God like that
shaken.
with us. Yeah, you have to have strong roots. You've got to water your plants every day. And when I say that, I'm talking about your relationship with God, and if you're not pouring into that, then what do you have if
That's
and when
right.
life happens to you? Because it's
You're
going to happen.
standing
I
on
mean,
sand. If not,
right,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So
You guys are a miracle story. And
yeah,
let's see, what would you say to anyone who's going through a transition right now? A lot of uncertainty. What would be, a two or three little things that you would share with them to give them hope and encouragement to
yeah.
keep going?
Well, I mean, kind of goes back to what I was just saying. I think the most important thing you can do is start your day with God and praying to Him and just having a conversation with Him and say, I don't know what my day is going to look like today. I don't know. It's dark. I don't know where to put my foot because the path isn't lit, but you can light it up for me and you can
Yes,
show me the way. And I'm just going to trust wherever you have me going is where you want me, and give me the courage to walk whatever path you're giving me, and show me a miracle today. Show me your face. I expect to see you show up. And when you have those expectations in your heart and your mind, you're going to find it. I mean, it's
100%.
I can't remember who said it, some philosopher, but seek and you shall find. I mean, you truly will seek the kingdom of God if you seek him out. He will
He
be
will.
there for you.
He will come through like the
So,
Lion of Judah. You were in so many different places. You were renting here, you were staying with friends. I saw a couple photos on Facebook, a lot of transition.
yeah.
What are some little things that you did to create a sense of home while you were living with others,
Mhm.
renting, having to move around? What did you do to make it feel like home?
Well, that's actually, I have a very good answer for that. Because I told you, Henry was only 7 weeks when it happened, so
Right.
he was in his crib and all of that. He actually went to his nursery pretty early. He was a really good sleeper because he was a big baby, which was nice. They can sleep longer. So anyway, we lived in this house on Elizabeth Street over in Inman Park, and there it didn't have three full bedrooms, which we actually needed four. Well, it had three full bedrooms, but it didn't have four full bedrooms for him to have his own sleeping area. I mean, he's a baby, so he didn't need his own room per
Right.
se, but he needed his own sleeping space so that other people wouldn't, the other children, Abigail and Sumter, wouldn't be interrupted, from him
Yeah.
crying
And
in
two
the night.
larger dogs, one of them very
Yeah,
large.
two larger dogs. So, long
Mhm.
story short, the house that we rented was this old Victorian house, and so the rooms are oversized, especially the hallways and the closets. So,
Oh,
he actually slept in a closet for 6 months of his life.
well, Jesus was
So
born in a manger, so
that's right.
for the believers listening,
So, and actually, I feel like he slept better in that closet, which is ventilated, by the way. The doors were
we
ventilated.
know you're a
Just
good mother.
okay. I just don't want anybody to think, oh,
No,
she's a
no,
baby in a closet.
we do not need to call
Um,
defects. Elizabeth is.
Well, so anyway, he slept in the closet, and I mean, it was so dark because I follow
Yeah.
moms on call, and that's part of their advice is have them sleep in a dark room, sound machine, all that. So we set
Mhm.
it up just like that, and it functioned. We had a closet nursery for 6 months, and it was wonderful. And
We've
I
done that
never,
with others on the holidays, not the
yeah,
closet, but we
right,
we have had to, yeah, on
yeah,
holidays. Yeah, with the
right. So
nephews.
you got to do what you got to do.
Right.
But it worked out beautifully. And just thinking back on it, I was so stressed out about that. And I felt like such a bad mom. And I thought, oh my gosh, he's got to sleep in a closet. This is terrible. He had this great nursery for the first 7 weeks of his life, and now this. But it worked out great. And, babies are resilient. They'll sleep wherever. Well, most of them will. And mine definitely will. He actually slept for all but like a minute out of the 2 hours that we were on top of the car trying to get rescued. Um,
Wow.
so it's amazing, with a good sound machine and sound machine of nature with all the wind
Yes,
and rain. I guess he
natural
thought it
sound
was a sound
machine.
machine. Yeah. So that's one piece of advice. The other piece of advice is to just have a routine, try to stick to a routine. And that, like we got out and we walked a lot with the dogs and in the stroller. And that really
Mhm.
helped us just from a health perspective. Getting outdoors helps anybody with
Right.
vitamin D. But it also helps if you're in a routine, then even
Right.
if you're not in your home, you still have pieces of your home because of activities that you're doing that are very similar.
Right. That's great
So
advice.
those are two of the things that we did that, a literal example to make it feel more like home, and then just something else you can do.
I love that. Oh my goodness. What do you think that you needed most during that time? Comfort, clarity, control, community?
All of those things, honestly, all of those things were important. I needed comfort during that time because I was a brand new mother. I was
Mhm.
fragile, really fragile when that happened. And, thinking back on it makes me really emotional because I didn't realize how fragile I was at the time. But, you have all these crazy fluctuations in your hormones in your body, and you don't realize how much you do need at that time.
Mm.
It was really interesting because Michael and I went from me saying to him, "Hey, I need you to make sure my water bottle is always filled up and within reach of me." And so we went from that to like, where's my husband? Not because he didn't want to be with me, but because I had to stay at home. I couldn't take Henry to a construction zone
No.
while my husband was throwing away like flooded clothes and items and things. And so, he couldn't be in our house with me and Michael. So I stayed at my mother-in-law's with him while Michael went out and did all that. So it was almost like I went to being a single parent overnight for a
Ah,
month or two while he was so busy having to do all that with the house. And so I'm so thankful, obviously, that he took on and shouldered that burden for us. But it's unfortunate. It's sad that we lost that time together when we could have been doing, other things like tummy time and like just they're like so innocent
things
that
you
you
were
get to
looking
do.
forward to.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But looks
So
like God had other plans,
other plans.
and I know I have always looked at you as such a strong, intelligent, just beautiful inside and out. I've always seen you that way. Even the first day I met you and my sister going to, I think y'all were working out at a gym together or doing something years ago. We were a lot younger. But
Yeah.
what you just have so much resilience, and obviously, yes, it's transitions take time to get through. I know you probably had some grieving that you went through while the house was, which is we can grieve things other than the loss of a person or a pet. Yeah.
Right.
So
Right.
I'm guessing you were dealing with that, but I see you as such a resilient person who just bounced back so quickly. And I guess what did this rebuilding process teach you about resilience, about getting back up, about do you feel you're stronger now? Or yeah, feel free to share with me anything about
Yeah.
the rebuilding process and how
Yeah.
that, yeah.
Well, the rebuilding process was not for the faint of heart. Well, and I will say too, like we haven't elevated our home. So I know like we moved back into a house that may flood again. Hopefully it doesn't for a really, really long time, if ever, but I'm a realist. I understand, things happen and it's going to probably flood again in our lifetime. And while we own the property, because we'll probably never sell it because it's just in a great school zone. And I mean, we may rent it at some point
Yeah.
if we decide to leave. But, I've moved back into a house that I realize could flood again and it could happen in the middle of the night. Now, I am doing a lot now to control the controllables, and I know better next time that if it were to flood again, we're not going to get caught off guard because we monitor the creek levels now, and we know if there's a big storm system coming. We've already agreed at a certain point when the creek hits X, we're out of there.
At the house.
Um, so we've controlled the controllables, and I did have like recently. I had some major PTSD that set in the middle of the night because it started raining really hard, and I started
Mhm.
seeing like puddling, like a lot of puddling in areas that, you know,
So
are, I don't know.
anxiety.
It took me back. It took
Yeah.
me back. And I remember looking out the window and thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to happen again. Um, and, and I started like, my heart was like beating so fast. But
Yeah.
then I realized that what happened to us is never going to happen again. It will never be that way again. It can't be worse than what happened because we're more prepared, and I won't have it. He's not an infant now. So, I mean, he's a toddler, he's a heavy toddler, but we could get him, we can get out of there before that happens.
Have
And
a strategy. You're ready.
we do. We have a go bag. We keep everything off the floor. I mean, I'm very
Wow.
OCD, but we have a plan if something like that were to happen again. And eventually, we'll probably raise the house. But this time, I mean, it was cost prohibitive. It's extremely expensive to take that on, let alone just rebuild the house as it was. And
Mhm.
so we have plans and contingency plans, and just we'll get through it if it happens again. It wouldn't be as bad because we won't almost die next time. But I'm also working with like
Oh,
Notre Dame and some other universities and all that to make sure that there is better tracking of hurricanes. It's
wow.
Yeah, it was really
Cool.
cool. We got
And that could
together.
help a lot of people too.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
circumstance could have been used literally to help others down
Yeah,
the
yeah.
line.
So they'll be better able to track where hurricanes are going because actually Hurricane Helene was a hurricane when it hit Atlanta. That's really odd that it made
Oh,
it
yeah.
that far without becoming a tropical depression. But it was still technically a hurricane when it hit us, but it
Right.
wasn't forecasted to hit us.
Oh, no, I was
So
shocked.
yeah,
Oh,
but they have this really cool technology where they're flying. You know that movie Twister, right?
yes,
You
I
know
love that
the
movie.
silver things that go up in the middle of the tornado.
Hmm.
Well, they have now this same technology that they drop the opposite way into the eye of the hurricane,
Okay.
and then the drones like drop these. I don't know what they're called. I should know this, but they're these measuring devices. And then they go in and they go to the ocean surface, they float, and that's where they collect all this crazy data from the water because that's where they get most of the data is the warm water that tells them where the storm's going and the intensity of the storm. And so that will help people from now on when they're in the path of the storm to know whether or not to go or stay so they can make better decisions. So that's something cool that's come out of it is I can work with people like that to share our story so they can get more funding for research projects like that.
Wow. Wow. Well, I still think you're extre I know you probably have moments when, yeah, the rain you start seeing the puddles and your mind goes back there and it will take time. But what gives you peace on a regular day-to-day basis when you're at home?
Really just spending time with God and when I do get nervous and my fear starts taking over, it's recognizing that voice for what it is and rebuking it. I know that's one of your favorite words. I always think of
I
that
guess
story with
everyone's
you and Kristen.
Oh gosh. Well, if people want to know, my goodness, we didn't plan to put this on a podcast, but I wasn't as wise as I am today. Uh, in my 20s, I did have someone try to steal my vehicle, and my sister said, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus.
And it worked.
It worked.
It
It
worked.
worked. It worked. He ran, and nothing was stolen.
I
So,
think about that story every time I talk with God and I do. I
there's
pray a very specific prayer every day to help me recognize the voice of Satan when I hear it and to
right.
rebuke it.
And
He has no
sometimes
place in my life.
our immune, like we can hold memory in our
Yeah,
body. So sometimes when it starts coming up, if it's trauma, um, our mind goes back to, well, that happened last time. And I have to
yeah,
even myself too, could be anything in life, any storm in life, not just a hurricane. And
that's right.
start noticing, wait, am I going in fear mode because of what happened in the past? I need to
Yeah.
look forward. But I see you as a warrior and just your strength,
Thank
and
you.
I just can't wait to see how the Lord continues to move in your life and help other use you to help others be more prepared.
Yeah.
And even I'm feeling gratitude talking to you about what I do have, because yeah, there's things I complain about. Oh, look at this.
Yeah,
Need to remodel this. There's a lot I want to
right.
tackle in this amount of time, and next year I'll do this and the 5-year plan. But at the end of the day, being content with the people in our lives who matter.
Yeah,
That's really what a home is. It's about
right.
who's
It
there.
is.
Yeah,
That's right. And the situation has totally rewired my brain to a grateful lens and being more just, I don't know. I just think about when I'm walking through the park with my son, I'm feeling so grateful for it because I know that, life is fleeting and
it is.
things could be so different. And I'm so blessed.
You are so blessed. Oh, thank you so much for giving me some of your time today. And Elizabeth, I can't wait to see. Definitely watch this woman. She's got some amazing things coming out. And I just love how you've used what could have been what essentially could have killed you. You are a miracle. You, Henry, Michael, the dogs, everybody who was, just a miracle story um, of perseverance and just the long suffering and patience you went through with those 11 months and getting back to your house. It's
Mhm.
just such a powerful testimony. And I can't wait to watch where things go from here. And I'm so grateful for your time today. So thank you so much for being here, Elizabeth.
Thanks. This was fun. Good catching up.
So good catching up and have a wonderful day.